Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen. ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين وأشرف الخلق أجمعين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of your program Ask Huda. Our contact informations are the same, beginning with area code for the phone numbers 002-0238-555-248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. And my personal page on the Facebook is msalah official. In the last episode, we started speaking about anger and anger management in Islam, but we ran out of time. We didn't have a chance to finish it, and I would like to resume today, inshallah, before I'll be able to take some more questions. We said that the Prophet ﷺ said in the sound hadith, whenever one of the companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, advise me. He said, La taghdab. He said, advise me. He said, La taghdab, don't get angry, don't get mad, don't lose your temper. He repeated that 3 times. So this companion later on said, I've been thinking about it. Why did he repeat the same advice 3 times? Then I realized that anger or al-ghadab is jima'ul sharri kullih. It compiles all sort of evil. Whenever one gets angry, he is not himself. She is not herself. They end up saying or acting on things that maybe they did not intend. That's why a lot of people do divorce their wives. A lot of people end up killing others. In some states in America, for instance, they keep always the shotgun next to them. If somebody offends them or cut them short, right away they use the shotgun. Why? Because they get angry. They have a very short temper. So anger can lead to killing, can lead to ruining the marriage life, because if somebody divorces his wife 3 times, the 3rd time is irrevocable, then he cannot just live with her anymore, even if he have like 5, 7 or 10 kids with her or from her, because she's divorced anyway. So we said the first solution is al-isti'adha, or seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the outcast Satan. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when he saw 2 companions were having an argument, then it turned sour, and they were, insulting each other. One of them has been insulted, so he got very angry, his face turned red, and his veins swell. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I know a word, if he were to say it, he would be relieved from whatever he experiences, from the anger. The word is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, or أعوذ بالله من الشيطان, I seek refuge with Allah from الشيطان. In another hadith, which is the sound hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا غضب الرجل فقال أعوذ بالله سكن غضبه. If somebody gets angry, then he says, I seek refuge with Allah, of course from or against every evil. And the head and the greatest evil is ash-shaytan, ar-rajim. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Fussilat, in ayah number 34, and in Surah Al-A'raf, in ayah number 200, وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. Then in Surah Al-A'raf said, إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ, and in Surah Fussilat said, إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Who can give you shelter and rescue better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He is the all-hearer, the all-knowing. So whenever Satan incites you, encourages you, and whispers to you to do an evil, وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. So resort to Allah, seek shelter in Him, and ask Him for help. Seek refuge in Allah. against الشيطان. Because he is the all-hearer, the all-knowing. So al-isti'adha is the first mean in order to suppress your anger and control your temper, and it is the most effective one. Number one is as-sukut, or silence. Not to say a word. Because whenever you are angry, other than al-isti'adha, of course, whenever you are angry, you may end up saying things that you did not mean. Really? Did I say so? I didn't mean it. So instead of apologizing and trying to fix an error which is not fixable anymore, such as a few days ago, I had a very well-respected person, a business owner or whatever. He said, I have divorced my wife 3 times. Every time I was angry. Not the anger that he, with it, did not know what he was saying, but she offended him. She kept saying, if you're a man, divorce me. He said, okay, you're divorced. She aggravated him, he divorced her. And this happened 3 times over 3 different stages. So he asked me if there is a solution. I said, if you are fully aware that she is your wife, and you divorce her willingly, then the divorce is effective. He said, yes, I was aware, but she was pushing me. And she said, if you're a man, divorce me. So I divorced her. What I'm trying to say is, even if somebody would tell this man, no, consider the 3rd divorce or the 2nd divorce is ineffective, guess what? She's going to aggravate him again, and she's going to drive him to the edge again, and he's going to divorce her over and over and over. Why? Because if he could not control himself for 3 times, what will make him control himself for beyond 3 times? So as-sukut, because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْكُتْ. If you get angry, it's better to zip off your mouth, not to say a word. Because in this condition, you've been driven and controlled by الشيطان. وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. And also a very important mean, and this is all not from psychology, this is from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This anger management is from the ahadith and the traditions and the actions of the Prophet ﷺ. He said ﷺ, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ فَلْيَجْلِسْ فَإِنْ ذَهَبَ عَنْهُ الْغَضَبُ وَإِلَّا فَلْيَضَّجِعْ. If any of you gets angry, if you're standing, sit down. And if you're sitting down, recline, lie down. Why? Al-Khattabi, rahimahullah, one of the interpreters of the hadith, a great scholar, said, because whenever the person is standing, he is in a ready position to react and to act, to beat, to hurt, to kill. And that's why they brought somebody to the Prophet ﷺ. Somebody was tying somebody from his neck with a rope, and he brought him to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, this man killed my brother. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, did you kill his brother? Yes. He said, yes, I did it. He said, how and why? He said, we were, hitting a tree in order to fold its leaves to feed it to the cattle. Then he aggravated me. He had his axe in his hands. So instead of hitting the tree, he hit his friend and he killed him. An error. Why? Because of anger. He killed a human being. And killing a believer, the removal and the destruction of the heavens and the earth, as-samawat wal-ard, the whole dunya, and the demolition of the Kaaba is much easier and lighter before Allah than the killing of a single believer and shedding his blood. He did so because of getting angry and not controlling his anger. So he killed him when he was angry. And of course, since I was a chaplain in the prison in the States, in sometimes maximum security units, I used to ask people, how did he end up in prison? Like most of the cases, because of anger. Because of anger. Most of the murders, because of anger. He was angry, he ended up killing somebody, and he did not mind, because he did not know the gravity of killing a human being. Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radiyallahu anh got angry with somebody over fetching water from a water well and so on. Then all of a sudden, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari sat down, Then he reclined. People were amazed. Why are you doing so? I mean, you expect somebody when he's angry and somebody offends you to react, or to say something, or to beat him up. He didn't do any of that. Rather, he sat down. Then afterward, he reclined. They asked him, why are you doing so? He said, because the Prophet ﷺ said, if you get angry and you're standing, sit down. And if you're still angry, then recline. So by following the instructions and the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ, he avoided acting upon his anger. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تغضب ولك الجنة. If you avoid anger, for suppressing your anger and controlling your temper, the reward is paradise. Whosoever suppresses his anger, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him for that with Al-Jannah. And we have this magnificent ayah of Surah Al Imran, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is the first ayah. Haste you all together towards the forgiveness from your Lord, and paradise as wide as the heavens and the earth, prepared for the righteous ones. What are the traits of al-muttaqeen? الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who spend in prosperity and in adversity, and those who suppress their anger, those who control their temper, and furthermore they pardon. And Allah loves the good doers by forgiving people, pardoning them, by being forbearing. Forbearance is one of the most beautiful qualities. The Prophet ﷺ has said to one of his companions, إِنَّ فِيكَ خَصْلَتَانِ يُحِبُّهُمَ اللَّهُ. You have such a beautiful trait, or two traits, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves so much. Al-hulm wal-anah. Al-hulm is forbearance. You're a forbearing person, forbearing person. Wal-anah, you take it easy. You do not get angry and lose it quickly. You control yourself. I would like to take some phone calls and resume, inshaAllah Azza afterward with the list of the anger management steps, because a lot of people are on the phone line, so I'd like to take their questions first. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Salim from United Arab Emirates.
Wa alaikum salam, Sheikh. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Salim.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. I have two questions, Sheikh.
Now,
one is, can we just take homeopathic medicines if somebody prescribes, if the doctor prescribes them? Because I've heard homeopathic medicines does contain some content of alcohol in it.
Well, I didn't get what kind of medicine?
Homeopathy, one type of
homeopathy. Okay, homeopathy.
Yeah.
Well, if it contains alcohol,
sometimes some people tell that it contains some content of alcohol in it.
I don't go by rumors or some people say. I read the ingredients. Okay, I read the ingredients and the percentage of the alcohol, and whether it's alcohol or alcohol derivatives. Like if it is ethyl alcohol or methyl alcohol, then we're talking about pure alcohol. If it has a great percentage, then I should avoid that. And as I said repeatedly, nowadays in North America and in the West, there is a new trend of avoiding using alcohol as an excipient or a vehicle. A lot of medications, cough medicine, etc., and cold medicine, it says alcohol-free. So if the alcohol-free is available, I should be using the alcohol-free, of course. Sure. Any other questions?
Second question, one of my friends passed away recently.
May Allah have mercy on him.
He left behind his two children and his wife, and he didn't have too much property or anything for his children to be taken care of.
No.
But the friend's father has got a lot of shares and a lot of property with him. Can these children be part of his property?
Okay. If the son dies in the life of the father, then his children would not get to inherit as long as he has other children who will be the uncles for those kids. So in this case, it is best for the grandfather in his life to designate a share similar to the share of the son if he was alive. if he was alive, like if he has 4 children, 4 sons, and his inheritance will be divided into 4 quarters, and his son will get that much, it would be best in his life to give his grandsons or grandchildren, whether boys and girls, to give them the share of his son who died before his death, or otherwise will get into a serious problem. Okay? He can do that in his life. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you, Brother Salim. Next. Sister Faiza from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Faiza.
I have one question.
Yeah.
My husband was out of a job for a long while, and alhamdulillah, he got a job now.
Alhamdulillah.
I wanted to know if it's from the sunnah that we can make a sacrifice as a thanksgiving for this.
Yes, of course. It is recommended to feed the people upon receiving any prosperity, moving to a new house, taking a new job, moving to a new place. You receive some good news. It is recommended to give tawsi'ah, to help people, especially those who are in need, of course. This is one of the great thanksgiving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the practical thanksgiving.
So
Okay?
making a sacrifice and sharing the meat or
Excellent.
feeding the poor.
Yeah,
Good.
excellent. Of
Okay,
course.
shukran.
Barakallahu fikum. Brother Fahim from Sweden. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Fahim?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feek.
Sheikh, I have 2 questions. The first question is about the Safiya. The non-Muslim, accused by the Muslims.
Fahim, Brother Fahim from Sweden. This call is not clear at all. Normally you call from a clear line, clearer than the local calls. If you do me a favor and try to recall, the brothers will make sure to take your phone call, inshallah. It's not clear at all. Barakallah feek, Fahim. Okay. If you pause for a little bit, please, because this is very important. We want to continue covering the subject, inshallah azza wa jal. Once the Prophet ﷺ was passing by a group of people who were wrestling. Wrestling is okay as long as it doesn't involve and include hitting in the face. So some people said about a wrestler, this guy is unbeatable. Nobody can beat him. He overcomes everybody else. Huwa musari'. So the Prophet ﷺ said, why is that? They said, because he overcomes everybody else. He said, shall I not tell you who is much more powerful than him? They said, certainly, Ya Rasulullah. He said, the one who can overcome his own anger and the whispers of a shaitan. وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. So the nazg, the insight, is from a shaitan. If he tries to whisper to you and incite you to do what's evil and act upon that, by overcoming these whispers and these tendencies, then you are a musara. The Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ الشَّدِيدُ بِالسُّرْعَةِ وَإِنَّمَا الشَّدِيدُ الَّذِي يَمْلِكُ نَفْسَهُ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ. Strength is not by overcoming others, by beating them, by showing your muscles. The real strength is by overcoming your own desire and anger. When we study how the Prophet ﷺ used to react during anger, and he was the most beloved to Allah. He was the dearest, so he is our role model. His practices and his sayings are supposed to be an example for us. For instance, once the Prophet ﷺ was walking, and he was wearing a scarf made of thick wool. It was very rough. So this Bedouin came and he grabbed hold of the Prophet ﷺ from his scarf and he suffocated him with it. He said, Muhammad, give me some of your money. This is the worth of Allah. He entrusted you with it. Give me some of the money. Of course, I always try to imagine what will be the behavior of the companions around the Prophet ﷺ when somebody dares to do that to him. Especially Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. He wouldn't even wait to find out what is the problem. He would chop off his head. But the Prophet ﷺ said, leave him alone. And instead of treating him with anger, he said, okay, give him some money. Situation is resolved. The problem is solved. It was simply, he wanted some money, give him money. The Prophet ﷺ did not keep in mind that, I am the leader of the Ummah. How could you ever treat me like this? How could you speak to me like that? Like most of us would do. Don't you know who I am? Don't you see? Things and statements of this nature. But the Prophet ﷺ behaved otherwise. So studying his seerah and reflecting upon his reaction would make us behave better, especially at the time of anger. Also, brothers and sisters, reflecting and studying the cases of those who were devastated due to anger would help us to seize and to step back and to ward off and avoid anger and acting upon anger. One person came to me one day and said, I made dhihar. Even dhihar is eliminated from the Muslim society since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited it. But he said to his wife, you are for me like my own mother. And this is not a divorce. This is something really serious. The kafara is to fast for 60 days, is to do this, is to do that. So before he would be able to touch his wife. So he said, I did the heart to my wife, what am I supposed to do? Before I ask him, or I answer him, and I tell him the ransom and what to do in order to resort their regular marriage life and will be able to embrace his wife, I asked him, why did you do that? He said, because I was very angry. I said, tell me the situation, what happened? He said, I went home, and once I opened the door, I found some water on the floor. So I screamed on my wife, and I called her. Why there is water here? Why didn't you dry it up? If you don't do it right now, you will be like my mother. I will not be able to touch you. You will be prohibited from me. And he started right away like he has a machine gun. He couldn't control his bullets. I said, okay, then what happened? He said, she wrapped up and she took off. She went to her family. I said, did you find out what was the problem? He said, as a matter of fact, I found that I was mistaken. Because she was busy all day long assisting my sister who got sick. She took her to the hospital and she was not aware of the water and she didn't have a chance to do it. I asked him furthermore, and by the way, who dried up the water? He said, I did. I said, subhanallah, wouldn't it be better from the beginning to do that in order to avoid the evil consequences? So sharing these stories and studying them, like the guy who killed his brother or his friend, like many prisoners and many people are waiting to be executed because they got angry. Cases like that will make the person word of anger and avoid it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Abu Hafad from Qatar, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feek.
Yeah. Sheikh, I have two questions.
Naam.
Inshallah, my sister is going for Hajj this year.
No.
So there are some clarifications. There will be a lot of do's and don't do's are there. We are listening from different sources. We want to clarify them.
No.
The first thing is when you are entering the Masjid al-Haram in Makkah,
No.
do we need to pray Tahiyatul Masjid?
Okay.
This is the first question. The
Okay.
second question, in the state of Ihram, are we allowed to wipe the face from the sweat or water? Rubbing the face is allowed or not during the state of Ihram? And the second thing is, in the state of Ihram...
What do you mean rubbing the face? In wudu or what?
For example, it is too much sweating is there.
No.
So is it allowed to wipe the face with a cloth?
No.
Yeah. And the second thing is during the Ihram, taking the bath with soap, is it allowed or not? These are the very minor things, but better to clarify it before we are going for the Hajj. Like.
Okay, Brother Abu Hafaz.
So, yeah, in general, in state of Ihram, what we are not supposed to do, including the things I have asked.
If you or your sister are going for Hajj, any viewer who's going for Hajj, or if you know somebody who's going for Hajj, you should watch the program of Hajj step by step. We have a couple of programs. They are already on the YouTube for free and many other websites.
What is the name of the program?
Hajj step by step. It covers what we need to do and what you should be avoiding. And the idea of filming this program came to me, or Allah inspired me to do it, because there are some very amazing situations. Somebody was coming from the States to perform Hajj on the Lufthansa, and he had a transit in Frankfurt. And this person entered Jeddah without making ihram, even though he started the ihram from the States. Why? Because he was told that if you are in a state of ihram, you're not allowed to answer the call of nature. You're not allowed to urinate. So can you imagine somebody flying for 14 hours or whatever, and he cannot enter the bathroom because if you are in ihram, you're not allowed to use the bathroom. This is really haram to drag people, to get them stuck in this nonsense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. There are many nonsense fatwa in this regard, such as when people make it difficult for the Hujjaj or the Mu'tamirin and say, if you are in a state of ihram and after you finish the manasik, you cannot give yourself a haircut or shave your hair, nor can you assist your wife or your roommate in shaving or trimming their hair. Why? Because you are in ihram. This is plain ignorance. Of course, ignorance. And I called this the barber's fatwa. Because who is the beneficiary? Search for the beneficiary. Who's benefiting out of that? The barbers. Of course, once you finish your ihram, you're most welcome. And you can definitely do that. You can shave your own hair and trim or cut. Same thing that you can do to your wife or your roommate, and there is no problem. What really saddens me is that some people who appear to be scholars or learned people in Hajj, they adopt such fatwas. When you go to perform tawaf on the Eid day, which is the 10th day of the month of Dhul Hijjah, when people are late, they're delayed because the tawaf, several million people are performing tawaf al-ifadah on the same day. So they spread the rumor or the false fatwa there, if you fail to enter Mina before sunset, then you owe a dam. You have to slaughter a fidya. This is again the cab driver's fatwa. Because the fare is like 15 riyal in regular times. On that day, it may reach to several hundred riyals per person. Why? Because they spread the rumor that if you do not make it to Mina before sunset, you're in trouble. I don't care. I perform my tawaf and I start walking, or I'm waiting for the ride, even if I don't make it until the morning. I'm not blameworthy. Why? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. The greeting for Al-Masjid Al-Haram is to perform tawaf. That, if you begin with tawaf. But what if you enter the masjid at any say time and you want to sit down? Then pray Tahiyatul Masjid 2 rak'ahs. So the tawaf is an alternative. Is an alternative to Tahiyatul Masjid only in Al-Masjid Al-Haram. What if you enter Al-Masjid Al-Haram for any daily prayer? Iqamah has been called, or the adhan has been called, you enter, you pray the sunnah and you sit waiting for the iqamah. Or you enter and you pray the fard right away. There is no need for Tahiyatul Masjid, because the purpose of Tahiyatul Masjid is, or the greeting of the masjid, is not to sit down and not to rest in the masjid before praying. So if you perform tawaf, then that will take care of it. If you offer any nafilah, do nafilah or fard, that will take care of it. Wiping your face if you're sweating or after taking a shower is not restricted. What's restricted is to cover your face deliberately. Is to cover your face during ihram. You're not allowed to do that. But if the wind is blowing, if it is dusty and you cover your face, no problem. And you don't need to pay a fidya. Similarly, taking a bath or taking a shower while in a state of ihram, and also changing the ihram set, the izar and the rida, it is permissible. You know what? We see some people, the ihram normally looks beautiful white, like milk, correct? So how come we see some people wearing gray? Not because the color is gray, but because their ihram gets so dirty. They've been wearing the same ihram for 2 weeks. making Hajjul Qiran and wearing the ihram for several days until they get extremely dirty. It has nothing to do with Islam because they have been misinformed. Somebody told them that once you put the ihram on, you cannot take it off. No, of course I can take off my ihram. I can put on a new set. I can wash my ihram. I can take a shower. No problem. Only avoid using scented soap or shampoo or body wash. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what's best. Let's take a short break and inshallah in a couple of minutes we'll meet you once again. Stay tuned.
Today, there were anti-U.S. protests in no fewer than 11 separate locations.
Muslims around the world are hurt and angry after a filthy film slandering Islam and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was released.
Why do you take the initiative and inflame the feelings of Muslims?
Proponents of this movie claim the right to free speech.
This violates all freedom of speech. This goes beyond any concept of Western values and freedom of speech for sure.
This is not free speech. This is called hate speech.
Muslim governments and organizations have important roles to play. But for the individual Muslim, the million-dollar question now is,
what should we do in these times? How do we react?
What we should do, my dear brothers and sisters, as individuals is two main things. The first thing is to learn, and the second thing is to teach.
The scholars of Islam have been teaching the Ummah throughout the last week how to love Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We love him, we have to follow him.
Watch the Mercy to All campaign on Huda TV, projecting the Muslim voice to the world.
Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Three, two, one.
What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up?
The firefighter uses what to control fire? Water or rocks? Now these two teams go head to head on pulling the blue rope. Now if one person goes over this line right here, the other team loses. Very simple rules. This challenge is worth 5 points.
What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up as a Muslim man?
Fun is for everyone, so get ready to have some fun. Check out these cool competitions between kids. It's important to have fun, and it's also important to be a good sport. So tune in to Fun for Everyone. You don't want to miss it.
What will I be when I grow up as a Muslim man? What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up? What will I be when I grow up as a Muslim man?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome back. We already have several callers waiting on the line. Let's begin with Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad first from Bahrain. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Huda.
Wa alaikum salam, Shaykh.
Go ahead, Sister Muhammad.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We are working together in one company with my fiancé, and we decided to get married. And the company policy is that married people cannot work together. So we discussed together, and we decided one of us will accept other job within our company. And the first opportunity that will come, one of us will take it. And now I get the opportunity. I'm moving to another country in the Middle East, close by. And just I wanted to ask, once we will get married, what will be the ruling? Because he will be staying in one country, working in our still company, and I will be staying in another country. So
I really don't get it. Why isn't allowed for both of you to be married and working in the same company? Why do they have this policy?
This is our company policy because we are both in the management position, and they are not allowing us to work together.
Okay.
So it's either we stay with the company or we find other job.
And you already found another job, right?
Yes, we have to look for a completely other job, and it will take some time. And
so you found another job already. What is the question then?
The question is that whether it will be, because the confusion is that if I will be staying in other country and he will be staying in other country, what is because I should not be traveling like without mahram. This is what
you mean. You're gonna be living in another country. What about this option?
Yes.
If you accept the position of being a house engineer instead, or you manage your own house, since he's in a management position and he's making good income, alhamdulillah, that you can manage the house instead. I don't see a reason, alhamdulillah, if you're well off, or both of you, why do you have to live away from your husband and live in another country? I don't see a necessity.
Yeah, okay. So for the time being, this is decision we make. Yes, this is one of the options that we are discussing, that maybe after some time I will become a housewife. But for the time being, I have to move because I got the offer.
You see, Muhammad, traveling alone to another country and living away from your husband for no necessity and no reason is questionable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about that. Especially, alhamdulillah, you are not in need. This is what I'm trying to bring to your attention. When a woman says that I'm the only person who's supporting the family with their parents, children, brothers and sisters, and I found an opening or a job in another country, and if I don't work, my family will starve. This is a situation where we say it's a necessity. But alhamdulillah, if it is not necessary for you to travel to another country, live away from your husband, and travel alone without a mahram, I don't see a concession to tell you, yes, it is permissible. Barakallahu fiki. Fahim from Sweden, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have one question. The question is that these days the non-Muslims, accuse the Muslims because of this new thing, taqiyya.
No.
That Muslims are telling lie in the name of religion, taqiyya. Although I know that it's not from Ahl Sunnah, taqiyya. But how should a Muslim respond to these things?
Well, why would you respond to something that you do not believe in? I mean, if non-Muslims tell you that you believe in taqiyya, number one, they don't know what taqiyya is. As a matter of fact, most Muslims who are Sunni...
But they don't know about this Shia, they
ask them to ask the Shia to answer.
Muslims that they do.
Just ask them to ask the Shia to answer this question. It's not presented to you.
Yeah.
We don't believe in this taqiyya. We say what we believe in. We respect and love people and treat them according to the way they treat us. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في دينكم ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. As long as those people, whether they're Christians, Jews, fire worshippers or atheists, as long as they don't fight against us, as long as they don't annoy our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't assist our enemies against us, so we are in peace with them. This is what the Quran says. Okay, I can simply show. I can simply show.
Tell them to ask from a Shia or Shia people, or just to be. I don't know.
We don't want to confuse the issues, Fahim. The concept of taqiyya, which I explained in a previous episode, is an essential element in the belief of the Shia. We don't have this in the mainstream of the Ummah. Okay?
Yes.
Barakallah fi. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I have a suggestion, brothers and sisters. As I just saw the promo about several live episodes in support of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and suggesting practical means of defending him and propagating his message sallallahu alaihi wasallam, We also count on you, brothers and sisters, the viewers who are, mashallah, in tens of millions everywhere, that you have to take part in that. You have to play an essential role. I'd like today to see on my account, on my page, many suggestions and also many experiences that since this incident or the Danish cartoons or this is what I have done. You have to be proactive. It is not sufficient to say the scholars are taking care of it. It's not sufficient to recline, sit back and say, well, we object to that and I condemn this and I condemn that. What about yourself? What did you do? You really have to do something about it. If you don't know how to, watch the programs which will begin inshallah on Thursday, right after corrective recitation, half hour after corrective recitation, will begin inshallah. I believe that there are 7 episodes live. We'll be hosting many people to speak about this, giving suggestions. Brother Usama, may Allah bless him, has come up with this idea, and the team here in Huda TV, Brother Malik, Usama, and everybody will be on top of it. This is not sufficient. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the prophet of all of us, not only certain people. So everybody is responsible to play a very essential role in defending the Prophet ﷺ. We want to turn this calamity and this hysteria into a benefit, into an advantage. So we want to turn this disadvantage into advantageous situation. We want to inform people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which insha'Allah, we will do our best to do so. But each and every one of you who loves the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam should play a role in that. Write to us, what would you like to do? Send to us some of your suggestions. Send to us what you have done in the past and what you're willing to do in the future, insha'Allah azza wa jal. Yasmin from Egypt, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feek, sister. Go ahead, please.
Sheikh, I have a question because we have a wedding celebration this coming month. Now, in Islam, it always says that we have to enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam curses the one who plucks the hair, the eyebrow. Now, most women do pluck their eyebrows during wedding celebration and playing loud music. So, is it permissible for me to attend this wedding or not, in Islamic perspective?
Okay. طيب. Any other questions?
Hello.
I hear you, Simin. Any other questions?
Hello.
Okay, I got your question. Plucking the eyebrows and mixed parties, wedding parties or any other party, of course is not permissible in Islam. I'm really surprised when somebody Allah blesses to get married. Yani Allah helped him or her to get married. And they are most in need for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to maintain this marriage and to bless them with the goodly offspring. If somebody gets married and is expecting a child, what do they say? Oh Allah, make him healthy. Oh Allah, make them righteous. Give us a goodly offspring. So they ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as believers. So why don't we keep in mind that we should do what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to be blessed, and avoid what displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or incur His wrath and anger in order to be safe and sound. If somebody would like to begin a marriage life in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we used to do this in America, that consult a sheikh, what's haram and what's halal. When somebody got married, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said to him, Allah has helped you and you fulfill half of your religious commitment. Then take care of the other half and fear Allah and keep your duty to Allah with regards to the other half. So marriage in Islam is an act of worship. The Prophet ﷺ said, for satisfying your sexual desire with your lawful wife or spouse, is an act of worship. You will be rewarded for that. And he explained why. He said, if somebody were to satisfy this desire and have this intimacy with a woman who is not lawful for him, he will be punished or not? Yes, he's worthy of punishment. So when he avoids the haram and he resorts to the halal, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him. You have to keep in mind these things. You have to study what kind of supplication or invocation should be said at the time of consummating the marriage, etc. After all, if you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you in your marriage life, you should only do what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and avoid that. Now as a guest, if I know that I'm going to attend a wedding party which will have a free mixing and music and dancing, I'm sorry, I'm not going to attend. And I don't care whether you will be happy or upset. Because my biggest care is to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy with me. Whomsoever pleases Allah, the Almighty, Allah will be pleased with him and will make everybody be pleased with him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He loves somebody, He calls on Jibreel and said, "Oh Gabriel, I love such and such person. You should love him." So He loves him. Then He calls on the dwellers of the heavens, all the angels. Allah loves such and such person. So they love him. ثُمَّ يُوضَعُ لَهُ الْقَبُولُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. This is my main concern, to be loved by Allah, by His angels, and by the righteous ones. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.